Big finish at the end for the Kolkata Knight Riders, and the man we suggested at Cricbuzz Combox was the key to them getting to a decent total. Looks more than decent at this stage, 177 to be exact. This is where they finished up. They've lost 6 wickets. They were 94 for 5 at one stage. Wasn't looking too good. Umran Malik was on fire, but it was Russell fighting fire with fire, finishing things off in style. Here on Cricbuzz Live to assess the last 20 overs, perhaps a bit of tactics. Let's see what the panel of Lisa Sthalekar and Michael Vaughan have to think. Michael, I'll come to you first at the very end of the innings. Washington Sundar bowling the 20th over. We know tactically Kane Williamson's got to be the shrewdest man around. Was he gambling on getting rid of Russell early?
Yeah, yeah, he was crossing his fingers when it got to about the 18th over, thinking, please, because this is a gamble that might really backfire, and it has. To think that you can only imagine what Washington Sundar's thinking as he's got the ball in his hand to bowl that last over. Then he gets the one off the first ball. Oh, thankfully I don't have to bowl 6 balls to him. But then he's back on strike. Very, very difficult as an off spinner to not miss your lengths, which he did on a couple of occasions, bowling those full tosses. Even if you get it just about right, he'll hit him for 6. You know, it's just a calculation from Kane, a gamble that is just not quite paid off.
It's not that it hasn't happened before. We've had spinners bowling the 20th over. Sometimes it's been tactical. Mostly it's been sort of try and use the other bowlers out. But one thing's for sure, Lisa, this is the most expensive 20th over by a spinner this season.
Yeah, and you kind of feel for Washington Sundar. We were talking in here in the studios just about potentially bringing him on if you wanted to get his over done and dusted in like the 16th, 17th over. You really should have your fast bowlers that are good at executing the Yorker. We saw, Umran Malik bowl well, Natarajan bowled fairly well to him. But also Washington Sundar, something that he might need to work on is potentially coming around the wicket. Now, he stayed over the wicket trying to fire in. Normally when off spinners want to kind of go for that Yorker, that heel Yorker, they go around the wicket and almost go a little bit more sidearm. So, and because he kind of comes from a very upright position, very hard to kind of skid the ball through and flat. So it might be something in his development over time that he'll need to add to his repertoire so he can bowl potentially 18, 19, 22 with some of these big hitters.
Yeah, we've got another off spinner and Michael Vaughan around. But would you prefer a ball?
Gautam, one thing's for sure, I wouldn't have been bowling the 20th over. I'd have made
honestly,
sure of that.
Sunrisers probably were handicapped by the fact that, yes, once you've gone ahead and used up all your other bowlers, they didn't have anyone to turn to who was the kind of 6 bowling option who maybe you could go to, even if he hasn't bowled till now.
Yeah, and that's what, you look at the Sunrisers, they've not got enough depth in that bowling attack. The really good teams will have 6, 7 options, maybe 8 at times. And to think that they've had to gamble and throw the off spinner onto the last over just tells you a little bit about how they're scrambling as a team this season. Just not quite got the consistency. They try and win certain aspects of the play in terms of, Umran Malik, great, that kind of section towards the mid-range part of the innings. And then they try and work the kind of system to try gamble to make sure that they get Dre Russ out, and it didn't happen. That's what you have to do now and again. When you've got an attack that really is 5 bowling options, you have to gamble at little times in the innings. And if it comes off, great. If it doesn't, you get exposed a little bit like they did today.
Yeah, to be fair, they did have options on paper. If you have to look at it, there was Aiden Markram, there was Abhishek Sharma, who hasn't been used so far, and Shashank Singh maybe could have been that X factor. But, Lisa, just to finish off on Washington Sundar here, we're so used to seeing him with a couple of overs and power play, and that's when his day's work seems to be so much more complete.
Yeah, and that's where he's probably had the most success, hasn't he? So it's part of his development. Different franchises, obviously Bangalore used him a lot in that power play, and that's where he kind of came to fruition, and everyone thought, hang on, this guy's really good, and then got elevated up to the Indian side. So he's going to have to learn to bowl in different phases, and you need to muck around with different grips, different release points, different positions on the crease, because as a finger spinner, and he's a very traditional finger spinner in the sense he doesn't have a lot of mystery deliveries. He's got to find ways just to disrupt the batter and their pattern of being able to hit him for a long way.
But let's not look at the negatives for now. I'm sure Kane Williamson will have put that behind him. They'll be now discussing the run chase. Let's look at the positives. Also, not too much mystery, just enough terror, just enough pace. Umran Malik had a couple of off days in between, but came back really hard. Could have had more than that. But Michael, one was, of course, an outstanding catch. We already talked about that. But otherwise, the hostility was back, and you could see it was a team who maybe don't enjoy pace. Not that anyone does, but Kolkata definitely don't.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's that kind of bowler that he's going to have hot days. He's going to have a few cold days as well. He's just an aggressive bowler. He's a wicket taker. And when you've got someone with bowling that amount of pace, you can get the wickets, but also the ball can travel to all parts, like we've seen in this IPL. He's had games where the ball's gone to all parts, and then he's had days like we've just seen where he's getting wickets, and he's very exciting. He's the kind of bowler that you'd want in your team because you know he's going to make something happen. Even in T20 cricket, you need bowlers that can make the opposing batters just start to shiver a little bit, and I think he does that because of that real express pace. I think for him to get really, really good, I think he's going to have to probably develop one or two different slower balls to go with those pacey 90-mile-an-hour deliveries. But he's young, he's learning, and he certainly wants to get on the ride with. India have really got to try and bring him in somehow into their international structure. I'm not saying he plays, but just to get him in and around that bowling unit that have got so much skill, so much experience, because he's certainly one for the future.
Yeah, we've talked about that. We've had a few boarding pass discussions regarding Australia, and I think the verdict generally is give him the boarding pass, but not necessarily straight onto the field. Get him with that squad, get him part of the setup. And Michael Vaughan makes a good point. But Lisa, what's he done differently? He hasn't yet quite got the repertoire of the change-ups, but what's he done differently from maybe his first 2 or 3 games when he went for 4 overs for 40, once 3 overs for 45?
I feel like he's probably bowled a little bit fuller when he's first come on. He struggled with probably his length and width. He was giving too much. And when you're bowling at that type of pace, batters are going to throw their hands at it. And if they get an outside edge, it's going to fly away, and good luck trying to get the actual angle of, third and fine leg right. Whereas I feel like, and I mentioned this a while ago, especially when he had that little turnaround, every time they showed Dale Steyn in the dugout, he was cheering and getting so excited when he got it absolutely perfect. And you feel like he kept trying to encourage him, go fuller, because he's got the ability just to beat batters with pace. And when he's going at that length, he's pretty destructive.
And we saw the result today, 3 wickets for Umran Malik. And there's a reminder of the wickets that he did pick up Rahane, Nitish Rana, and then Shreyas Iyer, who's succumbed to a few fast bowlers, at least in this tournament. But full credit to the man who finished off the innings at the end, Michael. Wasn't necessarily a typical Dre Russ type of innings from ball 1, to give him credit. He unleashed the real absolute slog only towards the end.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Sam Billings played a really clever hand as well. He hung in there when it was quite hot for them. It wasn't easy, and he just played conventionally, just knocked it around, ran between the wickets, hit the odd boundary. And the partnership with Dre Russ was, again, conventional. Very, very kind of sensible, if you like, from 2 players who like to get on with it. But I think they were gambling as well. I think they knew what was happening with the Sunrise. And I'm pretty sure Dre Russ had worked out that Washington Sundar was going to bowl an over. And it was looking more and more likely it was going to be the 19th, and then it became the 20th. So he just hung in there for that over, used his experience. I don't think he's going to like you saying he was slogging the ball, Gautam. I think he might be knocking on your door. That is clean striking. That's baseball style. That's the modern game. It was hard for the bowler, but brilliant from Dre Russ. He's just got brute strength. I'm amazed he hasn't whacked one back at a bowler, and the bowler's not been able to get out of the way, or an umpire. It is brutality at its best.
Yeah, fair point. I have to apologize for that. I was trying to find the right word at the right time. I was just trying to say that the typical Dre Russ kind of biff.
You don't want to upset Dre Russ, guys.
No,
I'm not.
He's bigger than
I
you.
know.
I'm not.
Not-
I would back you in a. You'd be quite fast and nimble, but I don't think I'm backing you against Dre Russ.
No, I'm even fast and nimble. Don't back me. 24 hours ago, I just took on the 5th fastest man on earth, Justin Gatlin. I came off much the worse.
It's all right.
So I'm not taking on Dre Russ for sure. He's a good friend. He has been over the years from CPL. And please don't anyone tell him I said this. But Lisa, it really was, I think the word Michael used was sensible. And between both Billings and Russell, I think we tend to get carried away because of the flamboyance of Russell. But give full credit to Billings in there as well.
Yeah, look, it must have been hard and has been hard for Sam Billings, in and out, sitting on the sidelines waiting. That's been his IPL story. It's been the IPL story for a lot of players, really international players as well. And he gets his opportunity. He probably spends a little bit more time in the middle today, and he was able to kind of repay him. And I've seen him, in the Big Bash for Sydney Thunder, bat up the top, and looks very comfortable hitting straight down the ground. He stuck to his strengths today and was able to get a crucial, 50-run partnership just when Kolkata needed them, just to stabilise the amount of wickets that they had. But yeah, I agree in the sense, the batters are getting smarter and smarter and really working out who's to bowl and going, okay, which end do we want to target, which side? Normally we're starting to see a shorter and a longer side because all the pitches are being used so much. So maybe fresh ones are on the outer edge of the square. So it's being tactically smart of who you're going to target and which end.
Now, every innings probably in this tournament has to have one moment, one talking point, and today it involved Rinku Singh. Now, just the other day, it was all about a power cut, and I think a lot of people have put the record straight, including our own colleague, Harsha Bogle, about knowing that these things happen. It happens around the world. But today was a different kind of an issue. Rinku Singh was given out, LBW. It looked dead and gone unless he had touched it. But there was some confusion, Michael, as to whether they'd actually signaled for the review and to which umpire.
It's typical cricket, isn't it? Cricket just continues to baffle. I've been playing and watching the game for over 35 years, and it still happens to have these moments where you kind of, I was watching TV go, what are they? I didn't quite understand what was happening. And only in cricket can that be the case. We have so many rules, so many different things you have to remember. And that was another one of those that was just a little bit, bit comical.
Well, I think the issue was that firstly, it was given quite late. So the appeal was going and going and going, finally given. And even the director had already moved on to the next shot because it was probably going to be not out, then was given. We never really saw what happened. I feel like Sam Billings was the one that signalled, and he just assumed that Rinku Singh signalled because he's saying go upstairs. And he probably just went, oh, well, Sam signalled, done. We'll go upstairs. And that's where all the confusion was.
But I think also what might have happened, and that's when Anil Chaudhary, who was not the standing umpire, came and said, listen, it's got to be a clear signal to the standing umpire. You can't just chat with the square leg umpire and go, we want this, whichever batsman does it. And I think it was just maybe Billings went, yeah, we're taking it. And they didn't take it any further.
Yeah, I think you're right, Gautam. A little bit of confusion out in the middle. Don't you love it?
But the other thing is, when we saw the replay, it was all 3 reds. So maybe it was a blessing in disguise.
It was for sure. There was absolutely no doubt about that. But what about the total? Because we talked about the sensible approach of Billings and Russell. We talked about perhaps a tactical error, calculation mistake on the part of Kane Williamson. What is the chat in that change room, Lisa, right now? Because they would have wanted to be chasing maybe 155, not 178.
Yeah, correct. And well done to you. You were the one that got it, didn't you? You went 175, Gautam. Well done. Did you get it?
Oh, I did. I had 175.
I'm giving him credit now. I'll take it back.
Yeah, no. I was just. My mind was in different places. So yeah, spot on. I did get
Lisa,
that.
he wins that many. It's like blasé.
Oh, it's another one. Yeah.
No, I've lost a few in the last few days, including sprint races, which I shouldn't have been taking part in. But Michael, how do they approach this? Because Of course, it's the old cliche. Kane Williamson has to get a few, but hard at the top from Abhishek Sharma. Rahul Tripathi is obviously aggressive. The likes of Markram and Puram would be crucial in this sort of a chase.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go hard. You got to go hard at the top. I think Kane's got to just up his ante as well in terms of being a bit more aggressive. That batting lineup's pretty strong. Puran and Marker have been quite consistent. I think Trippier is going to be quite a key. He's got the game and he's done it before against KKR. But it is a tall order. I think they've allowed him to get probably 20, 25 more than they should have done. So it's not going to be an easy chase. And it will take, you would think, one of that top three to be, with some kind of substance of a 60 or a 70 and someone else bats around them. But I don't think it's going to be an easy chase.
Well, I was just quickly popping onto the Cricbuzz app to check the reverse fixture, and eerily, Kolkata got 175 that day, and Hyderabad won by 7 wickets. Are they going to put that scorecard up in the dressing room and say, we did it the other day? Just let's replicate it, folks. Cricket's a simple game.
Yeah, cricket can be a simple game, but us as humans just cause too many problems out there. We make it a lot harder than what it needs to be. The main thing is that I feel like Aidan Markram and Nicholas Puran are the ones that will probably see at home, but they need the top to kind of set the foundation, the platform. Doesn't mean they have to score the bulk of the runs. If they do, that's an absolute bonus. But they need to be able to get them off to a good start, just to settle the nerves. And your Markram and your Puran can actually go big and they can chase something if it gets a little bit out of hand at the back end. But it should be a comfortable chase if they can survive these first 6 overs.
Yeah, on that day, Michael, Rahul Tripathi, that was the early part of the tournament when we were talking about, that was match number 25, when we were listing all the players who have been relishing playing their old franchises. And Tripathi got 71 of 37 with 6 maximums against his old franchise. I think he'll want to make it a double.
Yeah, he'll be itching to get out of that dugout. He'd probably be quite happy if the opening partnership gives him some kind of foundation, but I think he'll be itching to get out there to face this attack once again.
All right, let's see as we wrap up the show which side of the fence we sit on with these runs on the board, which looks as if it could be par, maybe just above par. Lisa, purple or orange?
Orange.
Oh.
Well, okay, fair enough.
I'm going to go purple. I'm going purple.
Yeah, all right. 2 other sides of is exactly where we want it to be. I'm also a sneaky feeling that there seems to be enough runs on the board, and it'll just make it even more interesting. It'll probably, the one thing it will definitely do is dent Hyderabad's chances of having that slim possibility of getting to 16 points. It means both them and Kolkata can get to only 14. So maybe a good news for a couple of other teams above them. Punjab, Delhi will be itching to get this result. Let's look at the points table before we wrap up. If it does go Kolkata's way, it means that Kolkata get up to 12 points, but with 1 game in hand. And I think Delhi and Punjab will be saying, yes, perfect result. Let us try and now edge into that 14-16 area and see what we can do. Well, that points table will tell a lot as time goes on for us. Our next point that we need to make is in the 10th over on Cricbuzz Combox as part of the Sunrisers run chase. For now, from Lisa, Michael and myself on Cricbuzz Live, that's all we have.